Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for another multi-dimensional Monday here at Esther 5D Energy. I went on a vacation last week to the ocean with my family. It was great. We had a good time. The ocean's always a place for me to reflect, reset, and rest. So I hope each and every one of you gets a chance to do that for yourself this summer. It was a much needed break in the routine for everybody, and we really had a good time. So I'm back home now, and I can record messages, and I have internet service. And so I'm just going to start recording today and see what the guides have to say. I have a feeling it's going to be the Galactic Command today. They've been taking the pulse of the planet as usual, and I believe they have some things to discuss today. So again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening, subscribing. Thank you for going with me on this journey. I appreciate it. This vessel steps back. We step forward. This is the Galactic Command. We are an energy group here of many different races, as you would call it, galactic forms, gathered here on a mission to help Earth with its evolution, to give the information you need to move forward and to observe how it is going. And the topic today that we would like to discuss is conflict. There is a duality in your planet, which all of you have experienced as humans. And there is a part of it that is called conflict in a certain frequency, the frequency of the third dimensional plane, Earth plane. And the way it is played out within yourself in this frequency is the part of you that desires a certain outcome or a certain way of being, and a part of you that doesn't want to do it, doesn't want to participate or follow through. You could even call it an inner argument that you have with yourself many times on the way you would like to be or something to be, and at the same time to do what it takes to get there. A lot of times there's a conflict of emotion involved, how to do it. The fact that maybe where you want to be in your life is not where you are right now. And this is an inner conflict, we will call it, an argument within yourself that requires a lot of your energy and is very distracting to you. And we see many of you have it going on, this inner conversation all the time. You're weighing your options. You're trying to decide. You're feeling like you're almost arguing with yourself over which way to go and what to do. This is part of duality in this frequency. Duality in a different frequency is perceived and felt in your emotional body differently. And this is what we would like to discuss with you. That when you reach a higher frequency, when you start operating from a higher frequency, which many of you are going into through quieting the mind, through the meditations, through focusing on spiritually uplifting or positive things, you'll find that that conflict changes. It doesn't go away, but it changes the way you view it, your perspective, and your emotional body interprets it differently. So in the frequencies that operate at a higher oscillation, we will call it, for a better way of putting it, it's not that one frequency is necessarily better to us than another, but your experience changes. And this is why the human evolution is happening, because you have felt and experienced many things on your journey here in a certain range, a certain frequency, and now you're ready to shift to a new one. And the same experience will feel quite different to you. That inner conflict or that argument you have will quiet down. It's like an ocean being churned up with the wind. And then suddenly, when the wind settles, the water is calmer. It looks like a different place. It's easier to navigate. In the higher frequencies, when you oscillate at a higher frequency, when you begin to really be able to hold that frequency for longer periods of time, and those waves settle down, that conflict will feel more like choices. It won't be quite the argument that you have in the emotional body. You will be able to step back from that and look at the conflict and say, why is this such a difficult decision? Not to say, stomp it out, but to look at it, to allow it to be there, to allow your conflicts to rest and be. It's not, people call it resistance. You say, oh, I can't do this, or I feel like I'm not able to, and they'll instantly say, oh, it's resistance. But it's really an inner conflict within you. Something is saying, stop a minute. I'm not sure I want to do that. Let those conflicts be. Let them rest. As you raise your frequency and observe them as part of your journey in a different frequency, as you raise yourself out of that and look at it, you may find out why it's there. There may have been something you experienced or heard about, or a choice that needed to be made that is giving you the idea that it's difficult or hard, or you may not be worthy of it. This may have come from anywhere, parents, other children when you were young. This may be something very simple that you just don't like to do. And you're constantly in that struggle of pushing yourself. And it may be as simple, and we will use this example because it is very simple, of not wanting to cut the grass in the summer if you have grass to cut, or do the dishes in your kitchen if you have dishes to do. You see, these are very small, everyday inner conflicts that take a lot of your energy. You're pushing yourself to do things that you really, deep down, you resent or don't feel like doing. It's you say it's resistance. It's and you may be something spiritual you're learning and you feel resistance to it. All of these things, let them rest. Let them be. Go into quietness if you can. Try and raise your frequency and just step back from it. And ask yourself what it is about this particular thing that you don't want to do. Why don't you like it? When did that start? Is this something you saw a pattern from other adults, perhaps when you were younger? I don't like doing this. I'm a slave to my cleaning pattern. I'm a slave to my yard. Is this the feeling they gave you about such things? Or did you hear other people talking that said this had to be difficult or unenjoyable? Look at that. Many of you are imprinted with ideas about what you like and don't like because of what you've seen others do and how they've handled it. So step back from your conflicts and look at them. Be honest with yourself. If it truly is something you don't like, and it didn't really come, you don't feel from another person, this is just your issue, can you make it more enjoyable for yourself? Can you find someone else to help you with it? Are you open to receiving help when it's offered? Many of you feel guilty for accepting help. And we are saying be open to receive. The universe is a fabulous place. If you can put yourself in the idea of living a very abundant life, that means you're open to receive as well as give. That abundance there can set up all sorts of creative ways for you to manage your daily life in a much easier way. So the person that doesn't like to do the dishes trades with the person that doesn't like to cut the grass. 2 hours for each of you. You trade. And the one person does something they don't mind, and the other person does something they don't mind. You see, in a higher frequency, you can resolve issues that have been stuck for you. And that is just the beginning for you. As you move forward in that energy, in the energy of positivity and raising your frequency so that you're thinking a little clearer, some of that inner conflict just becomes choices. You can choose to handle it differently than you have been, because when you look at it, well, the way I have been doing it has been making me feel pretty miserable. We know you. We see what happens daily here. And it is an energy of pushing and forcing yourself sometimes into situations that you feel stuck in. And it's an inner conflict. And look how it's reflected in your society as well, with everyone, with the way that things go about, that it's put in advertising, it's put in to sell you things to make life easier. It's permeated your way of thinking without you realizing it. So can you step back from that this summer? And it's summer here in this hemisphere where we are, and we realize some of you are in a different hemisphere. So in the time that you're in this time period, just step back from wherever you are right now and look at those things that you feel that energy resistance, that building up, and realize that that is really very exhausting to live that way. It's very tiring and distracting for you. That positive attitude that you want to have needs to be genuine. And by rearranging things that perhaps you find uncomfortable, finding a way to do it differently or receive help, allow yourself to arrange help. Perhaps arrange your schedule differently. If it's really exhausting, allow yourself to explore choices. That's the way of living in the higher frequency. And that's our message for you today, that we would like things to be easier for you. And it may take some stepping back from the situations. Start with very small ones that you really, we would say, are an issue that's very coming up a lot for you. Something that's really sticking out. That is perhaps the first one that you should tackle and really step back from and allow that conflict to be, though. We don't want you to feel like I have to wipe it out of my life. It's bad. No, that is just the way your emotions feel in that frequency. It's the conflict is part of duality in the 3D frequency. As you lift out of the 3D frequency and you get to the higher frequencies in your range, you will find that that emotion will dissipate a bit. It will calm down and it won't feel like that anymore. And the longer and the more you experience that, and the more joy you have with those small successes, and you say, oh, yes, that was adjustable. I was just thinking it wasn't. You see, you can celebrate yourself and your progress that you're making each and every day with your choices. We love you so much. We send you an energetic transmission of relaxation, of opening and clarity to raise your frequency, to balance your body in harmony with itself, so that your choices just feel like that. They don't feel like an inner argument or conflict like they do in the lower frequencies. Honor your journey in both frequencies and enjoy the fact that you can step back now and feel something different as a conscious creator of your reality. That is our message for you today from the Galactic Command. We love you. We see you. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you for joining me today.